Hi, Paige.
Hi.
Sitting, chilling, cruising, trying to get ready. Awesome. So thank you for jumping on. You're a fellow Aussie. I was very pleased to hear that. And actually from the Gold Coast as well. So, and yeah, Paige, you're in Canada, right? Right now. Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. And we were just chatting before we went live, actually. Tell us a little bit why maybe I'm a bit of a gypsy myself too. I actually find it very difficult to stay in one spot for too long. I couldn't tell you how many places I've lived in at how many times I've lived in the same place numerous times and bounced around. So if you want to share maybe a little bit, how long you've been in Canada, why are you there, and what's your mission and journey?
I came to Canada at the end of 2016 with no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I didn't know anyone here. I had never actually been here before. It was one of, like, I've been to the US and, you know, I've kind of traveled around there, but never to Canada. And I figured what better way to kind of put yourself in a position where you have no way of going back to what you were. That's why I did it. It's kind of hard to explain to people when they ask me. Usually they're like, oh, did you have a job or something lined up? And I'm like, oh, no. But no, honestly, I think staying in one place, same as you said, it breeds complacency, which I'm definitely afraid of for some reason. I don't know. It just helps a lot when you're constantly putting yourself in hot water. It keeps you clean, right? Yeah. Metaphorically.
Yeah. No,
yeah, that was my thought process with Canada, and it didn't disappoint. It didn't disappoint. There's definitely been highs and lows, and there's been amazing people that I've met and experiences that I probably would have preferred not to have had happen in a foreign country, but you know, that's all part of it, and it's enjoyable. When you look back on it, like I'm leaving actually really soon. I'm coming home in under a month. So it's, yeah, when you get to the end of something that you've started, your whole perspective on it just shifts and you see, oh, that's why, rather than like having the reason in the beginning, I guess. That's how I go about things, really.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
As mindless as they seem in the moment.
Paige, you're doing something really awesome at the moment that I'd like to tap into, which is your baby, if I can call it that, which is accurate AF. Tarot deck, which we can say as fuck. So, like, I actually saw your work. I came across your profile on Insta, actually, and I was like, wow. No, really, I was like, wow. But just I'll let you, like, obviously go into why you're doing it and how you got there and how you started and why you started, but just the energy and visually as well, for the detail and how modern you've created these cards is what I really loved. You know, it really takes a side step away from the traditional tarot, which blew me away. And I'm always for, you know, doing the conventional in unconventional ways. So talk to us about your little baby and how that seed was born, and more so why you wanted to start that.
I think it was kind of a collaboration of two things that it was one of those moments, like you just click, right? So I have studied astrology for a long time, not so much tarot, because I would look at a tarot deck and I guess just the traditional imagery, it turns me off. Like, I'm not interested in religious kind of stuff. I'm not interested in the really like afraid looking people and like scary characters and things like that. So I guess I thought about it in passing, you know, maybe one day I could make my own, you know, something that kind of came and went. And then the other half of that journey, the way that it started, was me in basically a tailspin, wondering, like, what am I doing with my life? Honestly, like, that's where I was at. Like, I have not got any kind of direction. I don't have a career path as such. You know, I didn't set myself in one field to go ahead. I kind of have experience from many different places, and the fact that I had nothing kind of was a blessing in disguise, really, because it gave me all of this time. And then suddenly I thought, you know what, why don't I just start this? Why don't I just create something for myself? And then it very, very quickly became something that was just not for myself. I don't know, as a person, I kind of disassociate from anything that's norm. You know, I don't want to just have that same old structured way of doing things that we've had for a long time, as I just can't. I find it really hard to, like, put my mind inside of a box, I guess, that society sort of, like, they don't necessarily impose it upon us that much anymore. I find that it's like a much more free kind of environment, but there was something, yeah, it just, when you can add a modern aspect into something that is so old, other people are interested in that, and that's what I started doing. The imagery itself, it has a lot of resonance with the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Sorry, I'm not sure if a lot of people that listen know of the deck. Probably, right? Just
in case, if you can explain it, that might help.
Yeah, it's quite vibrantly coloured, but there's a lot of imagery with regards to. It's a lot of symbolism, just a symbolism of stars, of color, of clothing, of movements, actions, kind of expressions, things like that, chains, whatever that means. Then the way that you can move that into something that's much more modern is, yeah, that's why I started it. It was something that I needed to do because I couldn't relate properly to the old cards. They frightened me a little bit. That made me feel like their outcome was kind of impending doom, you know? And funnily enough, people who I speak to who are not necessarily really even into divination, they have the same kind of reaction to it. They're like, oh, tarot. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't the only one that felt like that. You know, not everyone has just this ease of access to them. So when they see them, it's like, oh, you know, the devil specifically, that one's like... Yeah. Stuff, you know, but no, I wanted to make them more gentle, and they are, and they're lighthearted, they're easy to read, they're easy to understand. That's it, that's all.
I can completely relate to what it is that you're saying there about that feeling of, you know, the traditional, you know, tarot and whatnot, and the outcome, or the, you know, the meaning and the resonance of every, you know, spread and outcome, and you kind of look at that and you're like, wow, that's a little bit doom and gloom, isn't it?
Totally, it definitely is, you know, and you feel like sometimes, I guess, it's set in stone, but it's not ever. There's nothing ever going to be like that. But when you look at cards and you kind of pay attention to the past and how they have been used, it's sort of a little bit, it's heavy.
Yeah. I understand that, and especially when it comes to any sort of guidance or tools, when people are turning to, let's say, a tarot card deck, they're turning to them out of a moment of vulnerability, in need of guidance, in need of answers, and that's such a very precious space to be in, you know. And when someone's seeking something to help bring them up into a level of enlightenment, when that outcome or that reason or that particular card brings such a heavy message, you know, to some people, depending on what stage they're at in their life or where their mindset is, they will take that or, you know, believe everything that the cards are showing them. And if it is a bit of a doom and gloom situation, it can be quite detrimental to someone.
Yeah. And that's another key thing, right, is that I don't want to feel like that. So now passing this outwards to other people, it's going to have the same effect. You know, I very much turn to any kind of divination, whether it's astrology, whether it's tarot, anything like this. And I find peace a little bit, you know, when you can read something or read into something a little bit more with some kind of guidance that's not just your own logical brain going around and around in a circle, you know, that I don't know, there's just something that's more peaceful about having something that's there for you to lean on, rather than for it to give you something that's so, I'm lost for words, the word that I'm looking for, but it's not so final. It's so final. Yeah. It's more of it's a suggestive. It's a, have you been doing this, or can you maybe try this instead? And that's so much more beneficial in a situation when you're feeling a little low, rather than getting some impending doom tarot spread telling you that everything's going to get worse before it gets better. So you better buckle up, you know.
Even though that might be the case, it's not generally what's being said, it's how it's said.
Exactly. That comes up a lot. Yeah.
About the delivery. You know, you can say the same thing in a million different ways, and they can have a million different impacts and affect an individual in so many different levels. And you want to have that. You want to give that impact of hope and progression and suggestive solutions, so people have something positive to look forward to and to work towards, rather than go, boom, death card.
Yeah.
Like, no. But yeah, no, I totally love it. I was very drawn when I saw the imagery, and I saw especially the name with the deck of the cards as well, and I just really love it. Paige, especially with the detail and how creative, you know, the drawings or digital imagery is that something that came to you, and then or how did that kind of come about? How did you work?
Yeah, it's funny that you do say that. It's very much something that a lot of this stuff I'd never ever seen before. You know, I knew about tarot maybe, I don't know, a few years, like maybe 3 to 5 years, but it's not something that I ever really like gone into depth in. So then when all of these ideas started coming to me, it definitely felt, and I've only recently just started really opening up to the idea that there is a magical way for ideas to come to you and for inspiration to come to you. Make space for it and it will come. And it worked. First time almost, you know, I would get up some days, 7 o'clock in the morning with a blank mind. I would have nothing in there, you know, and I would sit down and I would think, I'm not going to get anything done today on this because there's just nothing in my head. Like, how am I going to make this work? And I would just leave, do yoga for half an hour, maybe just calm my mind down a little bit more, to the point where I was open to receiving insight and inspiration from something that transcends reality. Honestly, that's the only way that I can put it. And I would honestly go back, sit at that computer for another 12, 15 hours until way past midnight. You know, that's the kind of experience that I've had with this. It's open to channel somehow. I don't know. It's completely new to me, but I feel very, very privileged, because I guarantee this was not in my head when I started. Not even half of it. But now, here we are. I've received as much as I think that I've ever received in my life creatively in such a short time frame, like 5 months, something about that.
Yeah, wow.
A lot to produce, and yeah, just so grateful, so grateful. crazy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Paige, can you show us some of what your cards look like, just so you can see?
Yeah. Let me do this share screen. Okay. So these are the cards. Oh my gosh, now I'm wondering which ones I should share. I'm going to show you Death because it's one of my favorites. So do you want me to go through the imagery here just because?
Oh, if you want to show us, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So Death seems like a scary card. Usually you think of the Grim Reaper, you know, riding on a black horse, and it's all very terrifying. I wanted to put this in a way that death can be seen as a transformation or a rebirth or something that is actually the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a new one, rather than like the trashing of your entire life and now you're going to die and everything's never going to be the same and it's going to be bad or whatever. So you can see a guy who's falling into the grave. I don't know, can you see that?
Can you click it open to enlarge the image? Is that possible?
There we go. Let me see. There we go.
If you double click. Maybe.
So he has fallen into the grave and then the universe was under there the whole time. So death is opportunity rather than terrifying. That's how I put that. And then...
Could you bring it up? I can't see it, Paige. I mean, I can see it, but is there a way for you to click on it so then it blows up a little?
Let me see again. That's full screen. Can you see now?
No. I can see actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards.
You can see 12? That's so weird. All right. Oh, it must be because I'm opening another window.
Yeah.
It's super blurry though. Okay, let me see. I'm going to try open it again.
Maybe when you click down on share screen, you can...
There we go. Try that. How's that?
Yeah, that's it. Awesome. Yeah, cool. All right. So we can see there's a guy in there, right?
Yeah. So he's fallen into the grave, like you can see there. But universe, space, lots of opportunity rather than lots of fear, which I feel like is what is usually invoked with death card. So that, let me get out of this one and I'm just gonna...
Well, it's interesting, you know, Paige, that you say that. It's not really interesting, but I think it's wonderful. You know, the Chinese say with every crisis comes opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know, at that time when the crisis occurs, it can feel like, you know, an impending death. But with that, you know, there always lies a small crack of opportunity. So I think it's beautiful that you've been able to visually replicate that philosophy in the death card. I think that's wonderful. Because, you know, where there's endings, there's new beginnings as well.
Absolutely. I live by that, definitely. With all of the change that you are like, right? We undergo a lot of change and you find the opportunity rather than thinking about how terrifying the change is. It makes it so much more bearable.
Yeah. Yeah. There were a few cards that I saw as well, if you wouldn't mind showing them. A few that had glasses of wine, red wine. Was that, which is obviously related to the cups. Cups.
Oh, the rosé. There they are.
Yeah.
Let me...
That's cool. And if you can explain it to anyone who doesn't understand, obviously, maybe the meaning behind.
Absolutely.
And show us some of your favorites too. I really love these. Like,
Okay. Three of Cups. There's three hands with the cups half full. This card is all about celebration, and it's all about coming together with other people and finding progression through collaboration. I did this because I love rosé, and this is a modern version of it, right? Like it invokes an emotion within people rather than looking at some old castle or something with three people dancing around in the front. Like, we can't really relate to that, but we can definitely relate to this feeling, you know? That is where I go with a lot of these cards, to be honest with you. It becomes something that I don't know, I guess.
You said a few things there, Paige, that I really liked. Collaboration.
Yeah.
And that the glass is half full. I love the collective inspiration that you've been able to draw there and share that in those cards.
There's so much meaning to them, and there's so much meaning that probably I haven't even thought of. You know, that's the beauty of these. And I have quite a lot of people asking me about the meanings of them. I have tried to give it a sort of neutral effect, you know, because I don't like to be told usually what I can and cannot take from something, meaning-wise. So to leave it open for other people to sort of take what they want from it, it gives them meaning, and it gives them the connection to the cards rather than them being told, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. You know, it's so much easier to kind of resonate if you have to find your own way to connect with them and to find your reasoning within them. All right, I'm going to show you another one. Where's the Queen? Let's see here.
Everyone's situation's different. What everyone's going through, you know, the emotions might be the same, but the circumstances might vary. And it's important, and I can see what you're aiming at, or where you're trying to go with this, is that you want to leave it open. It's suggestive. It gives an outline and a pillar of some solution and resonance, but it's open enough for someone to be able to take, draw, and apply what they've just seen to their personal situation. So it's a suggestive tool rather than a dictatorial tool.
Absolutely. That's a good way of putting it. It's definitely suggestive. Yeah. It's invoking. You know, I want it to invoke things rather than be, this is what it is, you know, and that's final. So there's, there's a lot of meaning within all of them for me. And I can tell people that freely. I can definitely pass on what I know, but I love hearing people's opinions and thoughts about what they take from them. You know, that is so much more exciting to me than the other way around, me telling them. So that's been a really nice part of this as well. Just like having other people interact with something that you've made and having other people enjoy it the same way that you have is so brilliant. I don't think there's better than that. Just being able to share your passion and have it received.
Beautiful. Show us some of your other favorites.
Okay. I'll show you. The Queen of Cups is one of my favorites. There she is. Oh, okay. This is one of the cards, I suppose, that has a lot more sensitivity surrounding it. Cups are based on emotions, whereas the other suits in the deck are more like Swords is intellect and your mental, and then Wands is your spirituality. So the cups have a sensitivity about them, and I wanted that to be really obvious with the Queen because she is the feminine of the suit. You know, there's a lot to be said about the power of feminine and what can be learned from not only ourselves, but surrounding ourselves with women who are empowered or helping women who are not and all this kind of thing. So you can see the values around the edge there on the left-hand side, right? So compassion, comfort, wisdom, intuition, all of these things are just so inherently female. I couldn't do anything but just show. Actually, yeah, the nudity in this deck is another thing. That, to me, is something that is really quite powerful. I think being in raw form like that, in artwork specifically, has a lot more of an effect, you know? This would be completely different if she was clothed, especially in this power position, I suppose, you know, just completely open and the vulnerability and just accepting that, which is kind of cool. So most of my drawings with people in them are nude because I like that. I like the vulnerability that it creates and the relativity that we have with ourselves. Like, you see this in yourself and it's easy to replicate, you know?
Can I ask Paige, with this image,
Mm-hmm.
The ball in her hand, what does that represent?
It's the moon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the moon. It's probably super blurry on your screen. I'm sorry. But yeah, the moon represents emotions. So that's an astrological and also tarot. Anything divination you'll come across, the moon represents your emotions and the ebb and flow of those, and being that she is the Queen of Cups, which is definitely an intuitive and emotional suit. It's very fitting.
What I love about this is that, you know, having the cup in one hand, which to me represents abundance.
Yeah.
And the moon in the other, which represents not only intuition and emotions, but a reset and change. And it's almost like having one in each hand with her hands turned up towards the sky or the universe. It's embracing abundance and receiving change too. And what I love about this is, you know, seeing the blue and indigo, very light lilac, pouring through her third eye is like psychic connection or a connection to spirit, and having that clairvoyance to see what's ahead of her and what's above her, and drawing from that source information, you know, the universal consciousness to empower her, but being powerful and raw and authentic in her nakedness as well, because it's a vulnerable thing, but can be quite an empowering thing to be comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then loving the I suppose a solar, you know, around the solar plexus, which is just so it just adds to that, everything that you're just trying to obviously display and show here, which I think is, I can see why this is one of your favorites. So definitely an empowering card.
So amazing. This is exactly what I mean, right? Like, you can have 6 people look at this and have 6 completely different interpretations of it, and that is incredible to me. And it goes to show, right, that exactly as you said, circumstances are different, perceptions are different, we all have such different filters, right? We all have different experiences which contribute to how we see things, and then you have a piece of art that can invoke emotions of all different natures in different people, and that is brilliant to me. That's exactly what my intentions are. Hearing you describe it like that was just so cool. I love it.
Seriously, when I came across them, I was literally looking at every single one going, oh God. I was just kept staring at each one and just like really soaking in the detail and almost kind of just tapping into your energy and vibration because you created them, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like looking at the image and tapping into that and drawing the information of what it is that you're trying to describe. But I was just mesmerized. I was like, if I keep looking at these, I'm not going to get anything done. Like, I'm not actually going to do anything. I'm like, I just have to message her. But no, it's just absolutely beautiful, you know, and it is art, and it's an art form in its own uniqueness and in its own niche. And I think it's beautiful that you've been able to capture a message or an essence, and then be able to translate that into digital artwork that happens to just be tarot deck, you know.
Very weird.
But it's great.
It just should not go together, and they do.
Yeah, they definitely do. Definitely. Paige, where would you love to see the Accurate as Fuck tarot deck? What's, you know, I know that you didn't start doing this with a mission. A lot of us never do. You know, a lot of us, when we start doing what we do, we just do it because we get the inspiration, we get the innovation, we get the ideas from spirit, we get the downloads, the image, the thoughts, the feelings, and we go, all right, that's it. I don't know what the end goal is, but I know that I need to start. But now that you've started and it's, you know, manifesting into this beautiful artwork and masterpiece, you know, what can you do with this? Where do you want to see this go? Like, is it something that we want to start seeing in retail stores nationally, internationally? Or, you know, have you got thought of maybe joint ventures and projects? And ideas. I've got a lot of ideas for you, actually, which I'll share with you offline. Which is just all coming to me now, and that's the reason why I'm asking you, because I want to make sure, am I getting this from spirit or am I getting this from you? So, you know,
there's so many ideas. I've had, like, the word that you use, download, is exactly how I've felt over the past 3 to 5 months. It's just been crazy, you know, and it's mainly I want to see it in places where I have come from. You know, because I think about when I was in those places, or if I was there, what would I have liked to see? And this I want to see there, because, you know, often I would go into, let's say, a boutique store on like some random side alley in Melbourne in Australia, right? Like, you go in and you're looking at all these amazing things, and I love that feeling, and I enjoy being in stores like that. So that's where I want to put my things, because I know that the vibration is the same, the people are the same as me, and they will enjoy it the same, you know? Retail stores, definitely an option. I would love to go, I think there's so much. I think staying online is something that everyone wants to do these days, but I just love the charm of retail. I love the charm of those boxes that people have been sending out. I don't actually get them myself, but I have so many friends who subscribe to these boxes, and they get all this cool stuff in there every month. And I think that metaphysical inclination is becoming much more apparent, and something like this could definitely go amongst a bunch of other things like crystals, right? I'm holding one right now. Everyone has them. Yeah, everyone has them. I would love to do so many other things, incorporate it in with an app maybe in the future, and give people who have the deck a way to learn how to read their own cards and feel really confident when they do their readings, and just progress that side of it as well. I think as many places that I would like to see it, I'm getting from other people as well. Probably, you know, it's meant to be out there. It's supposed to be helping, and it's supposed to be guidance, and it will find its way. I just have to facilitate it, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
That's how I feel right now. It's coming,
Well, now that you've thrown it out there and you've actually said it, not only just to myself, but live on Facebook, you know, when you ask, you shall receive. And Yeah. And I mean, even the fact that you've been able to manifest this opportunity just to have a conversation about your baby and your work, it's already started, you know, it's already in the pipeline. So that's really, really cool. Do you know, it's amazing. And it's just come to me now, you know, there are so many different tools on the planet, you know, different style of cards and things as such, and all are valuable and all are beautiful. The thing is that, you know, energy's energy, and we gravitate towards what we're attracted to, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just remarkable. Like, I was actually I'll be completely honest, and I've said this before, I don't use cards generally. When I do my readings, I just go straight to source, or straight to the individual or the situation or the source or the energy that's around. It's purely just energy reading. I have cards, and I only use them for people that like the visual stuff, but actually it's not my preferred tool. But when I saw your cards and saw the imagery, I was just like, oh my God. Like, I spent so much time just downloading information from looking at what the images that you've created and the energy and what you've tried to articulate there. You know, I personally think that they're remarkable. And I'm not just saying that to you because we're having an interview and then you're, you know, like, I wouldn't have reached out to you otherwise. So I think they're absolutely amazing. And you know, never say never. I've never really come across a particular deck. It's like I said, it's never really been my thing. You know, my style of reading doesn't include things, but I do it for some people that I feel energetically would benefit or would prefer, or it's just an extra. It's just an extra, but I don't actually naturally do it myself. But your cards, for me personally, are absolutely gorgeous. And when I like I said before, I could spend ages. I've been looking at them, and I spend so much time just looking at each card that I actually draw so much information just from looking at the imagery. And it's not even knowing what the card means, because I actually don't know enough about tarot, actually. I'm just getting what I need from what I'm looking at, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's incredible. And that is exactly what I wanted. I wanted this to be something that was easy for people who have not spent a lot of time looking at tarot and have not spent a lot of time even tapping into energy, you know, or understanding that they do have this abundance of knowledge, or whatever you want to call it, that's just literally waiting for them to ask for it to be present, you know. And it's really nice to hear it, because that's something that I was really striving towards, purely because I wanted it to be as simple and easy to understand and emotion invoking as possible, rather than it having to be something that you think about so much. Just put them there and get what you want from them or what you need from them. That's it. But that's super cool that you can take so much without actually even knowing. I love it.
Yeah, cool. Paige, if anyone is interested in connecting with you or wanting to know more about how they can get their hands on your baby and your product, how can they go about that?
I am on pretty much any social media platform you can think of. So I guess Facebook and Instagram, or you can just email me at it's just accurate.af.tarot@gmail.com. Is that?
I actually want to ask you one question. Why accurate AF?
Because I have so many friends who are not into this stuff. You know, they don't spend a lot of time studying astrology. They're not really into meditation as much as I am. They don't do a lot of things that open them up spiritually to the information that's available, like I was just saying, right? So when I would have a conversation with someone, or like read astrology or read tarot for them, or I don't know, just meet someone even and tell them something about them that I've just received. They're like, what the fuck? How is that so accurate? How do you know this? Tell me more about myself. Tell me more about myself. What else do you know? How do you know this? Why is it always so on point? Like, they're always saying this stuff. And then I was thinking of a name, and actually one of my good girlfriends who is featured in this deck now because she helped me so much with this name, we were just messaging backwards and forwards, and then she eventually was like, why don't you call it Accurate AF? And that was it. I was like, that's this. It's exactly what it is. Because it had to have something funny about it, you know. I don't want another spiritual guidance oracle deck, you know. There's so many of them. Mm-hmm. This one jumps out at you and you're like, oh, that's swearing at me. But
yeah, it'll resonate with those people who are on that. That's why it really resonated with me as well.
Totally. That's why. Because that's the word that people always say to me when I talk to them about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's so accurate.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Paige, for jumping on Healing Networks and sharing your work and your baby Accurate as Fuck Tarot. If you can stay on, when we end, if you can stay on so I can have a quick chat to you and share with you some of the ideas I have, that'd be amazing. Cool. Awesome. We'll talk soon.